on your left side. Okay.
Like this? Is it good?
Yes.
Okay, I guess we are good. Well, all great things take a little bit of time, and we are starting with a slight delay. Welcome to the IJ4EU Impact Award ceremony. Tonight, marking the finale of the Uncovered conference after 2 long days, we honor the most impactful watchdog journalism across and beyond Europe. I'm Denise, once again, a very excited host, and I am also the IJ4EU Program Manager at the European Center for Press and Media Freedom. It's a great pleasure to co-host the Impact Award ceremony with Paul Caruana Galizia, who has chaired the award jury this year. Paul is an editor and reporter at Tortoise Media, an award-winning journalist, and the author of the 2023 book, A Death in Malta, which won the Cornelius Ryan Award from the Overseas Press Club. Thank you, Paul, for joining me tonight.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Denise, for the introduction, and for something I think you should all know, Denise is the real driving force behind this award. And if there were a prize for organizing awards, you would win it.
Thank you, Paul.
So we should also thank IMED for hosting this event and allowing us into this incredible forum. Definitely the best organized and the most stylish journalism conference I've been to. As an organization that's dedicated to credible and independent journalism, IMED really couldn't be a better host for this award.
Well, yeah, very, very sincere thank you to IMED for hosting the Uncovered conference as well. Well, as Uncovered, IJ4EU Impact Award is also part of the IJ4EU program. IJ4EU stands for Investigative Journalism in Europe. It's a program led by the International Press Institute. The partners are the European Journalism Center, Arena for Journalism in Europe, and European Center for Press and Media Freedom. As I said, it's the annual award of the IJ4EU Fund. It is given to the 3 most impactful cross-border investigations published in Europe the year before. It is organized by the European Center for Press and Media Freedom. I've never said my organization's name so many times in a row before. Well, on behalf of IJ4EU, I would like to extend our gratitude to the European Commission for financing us. We are also thankful to our co-supporters, the Free State of Saxony, Open Society Foundations, Friedort, Isocrates, and the city of Leipzig.
So I'm afraid before we announce the winners, we're gonna bore you with how we came up with a list of the winners, because it was a really rigorous process, largely thanks to Denise and her team. And notable this year that there were 71 nominations for the award, which was a record. 37 of those passed the initial eligibility criteria. And the group represented an astonishing 73 different countries.
Well, once the submissions arrived, the real work began. Over the course of 14 weeks, I had the privilege of working with 22 students at the Leipzig University in Germany. We have together carefully examined each and every eligible submission, diving deep into the outstanding impact that these nominations created across Europe. As a result, we crafted a very long evaluation report of 320 pages and a short list of 10 most impactful stories that truly stood out. The report may be too long to read here, but I suggest that we go through the short list together.
Thank you, Denise. So, starting with an entry called Cold Front. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a group of Nordic journalists have been digging deeper into a very murky world of Russian spying, seabed warfare, and disinformation. And this entry consisted of a podcast series, a TV series, and articles, and revealed a very complex hybrid war. Mariupol Drama Theatre, used as a shelter for thousands of Ukrainian civilians. This group of journalists used eyewitness testimonies and visual evidence, and they were led by forensic architecture in reconstructing the events and countering Russian attempts to erase the truth. Then we had journalists investigating disinformation and how they're threatened, jailed, and in extreme cases, like that of Indian journalist Gauri Lankesh, killed. More than 100 journalists from 30 media outlets got together for Story Killers to expose the inner workings of the global secretive world of disinformation mercenaries.
The next shortlisted nomination is Suspicion Machines. This series of collaborative investigations exposes how governments use welfare surveillance algorithms with little transparency, leading to discrimination against vulnerable populations. What happens to those who die trying to reach Europe? The Border Graves investigation have confirmed the existence of 1,015 unmarked graves of migrants buried in 65 cemeteries across Europe, revealing how EU migration policy has failed both the dead and the living. Bruno Pereira and Dom Phillips were killed for exposing illegal activities in the Amazon. 50 journalists from 16 news organizations came together to continue their work. The murders of Bruno and Dom will not succeed in preventing this story from being told. The Forever Pollution Project reveals that almost 23,000 sites all over Europe are contaminated by toxic forever chemicals found in commercial products. PFAS are linked to cancer and infertility, among a dozen other diseases.
Thank you, Denise. So we had a cross-border collaboration involving only 2 journalists on the shortlist. It was called The Jungle, and laid bare the very dire conditions facing migrants and refugees in the forests along the Polish-Belarusian border, and Poland's double standards in helping asylum seekers. We had The Missing Children of Ukraine, which revealed how thousands of Ukrainian kids are being transferred into Russia from the occupied territories in eastern Ukraine. So the Kremlin, of course, says Russia is saving them, and Ukraine calls it genocide. Our final shortlisted investigation takes a forensic look at the deadliest shipwreck in recent history, which killed more than 500 irregular migrants in Greek waters. The Pylos shipwreck shows in detail the failure to mobilize help and proves that survivor statements were tampered with.
Well, each time I go through this shortlist, I'm very, very impressed by the quality of journalism. Once the report that I wrote with my students was ready, it was time for the jury to gather and decide the 3 equal winners of this year's Impact Award. Paul, let's go through what you have done together.
Okay, so the first job as jury members was to read very carefully the 320-page report Dennis mentioned over a number of weeks. Each jury member then compiled a list of our preferences, and then we met to compare those preferences. We had a judging meeting that went on for 2 hours, which I don't know about the other jurors, but I quite enjoyed, actually, until we came to a consensus on 3 equal winners and 1 honorable mention. That meeting, again, I thought was lively. It was, of course, challenging. But it was, above all, an absolute privilege to be part of this jury, especially with such a brilliant cast, who I would now like to introduce. So Saranda Ramaj has reported on corruption and organized crime in Kosovo for 11 years and won 19 prizes for her work, including Kosovo's Journalist of the Year in 2022. Nick Williams is a leading media freedom and free expression advocate. He co-chairs the UK Anti-SLAPP Coalition as well as the Ferret, the investigative journalism co-op. Gabriella Manuli is the Deputy Director of the Global Investigative Journalism Network. So Gabi has been a journalist for 20 years, having worked across different media in Latin America, the US, and Europe. Christo Hurd, who sadly couldn't join us this evening, is the founder and managing director of Dartmouth Films, which is a pioneering documentary maker. Christo was also the managing editor of the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. Now, I'd like to invite Saranda to introduce our honorable mention winner.
Thank you very much. Over the last 2 days, we have all discussed how artificial intelligence can support or threaten democracy, journalism, and the public's right to know. This investigation truly dissected how automated processes without true transparency can have real harmful consequences in society. Looking at examples from 6 European countries, this groundbreaking investigation made use of more than 100 freedom of information requests to obtain unprecedented access to the code, training data, and model files, which enable them to audit these systems from the inside out. From this, the journalists were able to demonstrate the real-world image of unaccountable algorithms. These projects deployed a unique and groundbreaking methodology that should be seen as a template for others to follow to ensure all technology is accountable. That is the true purpose of public interest journalism. It's for these reasons that I'm honored to announce an honorable mention to suspicion machines, an investigation by Lighthouse Reports and Partners.
Well done.
The floor is yours.
So, thank you. I'd like to start by saying that it's a shame that more of the people who were directly involved in this investigation can't be here this afternoon to collect this. But there are good reasons for that. From the list of names that you can see up there, Gabriel is currently at the African Internet Convention in Dakar in Senegal, where he's teaching sessions on AI accountability reporting. Justin is getting started at Stanford, where he's going to be developing the next level of expertise for topics like this. What I would like to say is that this is one of the investigations that we're absolutely proudest of at Lighthouse. It took a very long time. It was hard to do. It's an incredibly complex piece of work. I was grateful for a mention of the fact that the reason to tackle these kinds of complex investigations is not for a one-off big show. This is very nice, but it's not for this either. It's to try and build a community of journalists around these topics and to make it possible to interrogate systems like this. We were really hoping from the outset to demystify reporting on algorithms and to tackle possibly the fullest version of that we could. But what pleases many of the team who did this the most is the fact that we hear now from Chile, where FOIA approaches that we developed with suspicion machines are being used to look at risk assessment algorithms for sexual abuse victims. We hear from Uganda and from South Africa in terms of how the templates that we made available and the approaches we used in this investigation can be used for systems in those contexts. I think it's great that it's now commonplace for algorithmic accountability reporting to be on the agenda at conferences like this. There was a panel here today directly addressing this. Now, this is a big-scale publication that we see behind me from Wired, but this was also a little and large coalition that put this together. Our partners in Rotterdam, which was at the center of this story, Verspeton, did a lot of the community reporting to bring us closest to the people who had directly experienced harm. And this kind of big production investigation, in order for it to be really truly worthwhile, needs to seed a family of follow-ups. And since this came out, there's been a major investigation into the French social security system with Le Monde. There was a great investigation into the Spanish health system with Pablo, whom some of you will have met here, that published with El Confidencial. And in the coming month, there will be a major investigation in Sweden into the parental allowance system there. So just to wrap up, because and cede the floor to the very worthy winners, the reason that we focused in on welfare surveillance in particular is because this is a really good example of the political decisions that sit behind the application of technology to complex questions. Really, what is the problem that an AI system was trying to solve here? The implication was that the reason that cities like Rotterdam and many other cities that we looked at as part of this series were facing huge degrees of welfare fraud, and that you needed the most advanced technology in order to root out these fraudsters. But nowhere in the decision-making around the commissioning of these systems was there any really honest accounting of the extent of that fraud. We need to be really critical as journalists of the application of complex technologies where you have automated systems that interrogate some of the most marginalized communities, and then you have bespoke solutions for people, for the most privileged in our societies. So where you see that kind of massive inequality in the application of technology, those are places that journalists should be looking. And if you're looking at them and you see any great systems, then come and talk to us at Lighthouse. We'd be really happy to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Damien. Congratulations. Well, heartfelt congratulations to Lighthouse Reports and its partners on this very well-deserved recognition. Now I have the pleasure of inviting Nick Williams to the stage, who generously joined the award jury this year to announce the first winner of the 3 equal winners of the Impact Award.
Thank you and good afternoon. So much of journalism is hidden from view. The hard slog to find someone to go on the record, the fight to access documents, the repelling of legal threats aimed at scaring newsrooms off a story. What is also hidden are the threats directed at journalists, the threats aimed at silencing the stories. So when we talk about impact, the name of this award, we can talk about readership, the policies changed, the wrongdoing brought to light, but we must also ensure we champion the demolition of such violent silencing. In India, according to Reporters Without Borders, 28 journalists have been killed since 2014. One of these was Gary Lankesh, a pioneering editor and journalist who was committed to detoxifying the media and civic space through journalism and a commitment to the truth. In September 2017, she was shot to death outside her house in Bangalore as she was reporting on something that was disfiguring India and the world, the global disinformation complex. Those who killed her thought that by murdering her, they were silencing her, and they were wrong. Tying together a Spanish reputation management firm, an influence company smearing the International Committee of the Red Cross in Burkina Faso, and an Israeli company targeting African elections, to name just a few of the remarkable stories published here, This investigation fills in the map started by Gowrie to reveal the global reach and ambition of the peddlers behind disinformation. But by continuing Gowrie's important work, not only did they uncover a shady industry that threatens every country across the globe, they shone a light on Gowrie's tragic death, and through that, they honored her courageous life. And it is for this reason that I'm profoundly honored to announce that one of the winners of this year's Impact Award is Story Killers by Forbidden Stories and 30 of its media partners. So,
we will share. It's collaborative. Kalispera. Bonsoir à tous. Good evening. Thank you very much. It's a great honor and pride to be here in Athens for the IJ4EU Impact Award. Thank you very much to the Uncovered Conference. Thanks to you all. And I am very proud also to be here with my dear friends Manisha Ganguly from The Guardian and Frédéric Obermeyer from Paper Trail. I am Frédéric Mettezo, the editor of Forbidden Stories. It's an honor, it's a great pride, and a great joy to receive this award for our Story Killers investigation. Because I was twice involved in this investigation. 3 years ago, as a partner, as Radio France correspondent in Jerusalem, and now, because I just joined Forbidden Stories as an editor, I am delighted about that position. Thanks to FS CEO Laurent Richard for trusting me, and thanks to you all for this prize and for your support. As you know, and we just talked about that, Forbidden Stories leads a very special mission, unique in the world. That is to continue the investigations of journalists who have been killed, threatened, jailed, or silenced. But we continue the story in a collaborative way. That is always our starting point. And at the origins of the Story Killers project was Gowrie Lankesh from India. Disinformation is a huge topic nowadays. With COVID-19, the US election, the wars in Ukraine and in Gaza, or the foreign influence from authoritarian regimes. That is a huge threat for democracy and for the freedom of press. Disinformation is a business and also a deadly business. That is why Forbidden Stories decided to continue Gowrie's work and to investigate new global leads related to disinformation. That was how the Story Killers project came into being. 30 media outlets, more than 100 journalists from all over the world. The investigation would not have been possible without our consortium. We talked about Gowrie's story. Let me just tell you more personally about the story that led us to Israel. With two Israeli colleagues, my beloved friends Omer Ben Jacob from Haaretz and Gur Megiddo from The Marker, we launched an undercover investigation, and we discovered several so-called public relations companies. Both were run by former intelligence or army officers. Their names are Tim Hoche and Percepto. But they were in fact disinformation and manipulation firms operating on the ground, online, and even in mainstream media around the globe. In France, for example, in my country, They spread fake news through a major French TV channel. So with Gourane Omer, we infiltrated those guys for months, pretending to be potential clients. But after that field investigation, we needed data and OSINT work to identify their online campaigns. We needed also deep sources to reveal their links with Cambridge Analytica. Each of our partners brought another puzzle piece. As a worldwide scoop, Story Killers made headlines in several big media outlets. We were interviewed by investigative committees at the French and the European parliaments. In France, a former TV anchorman, a lobbyist, a member of parliament, and a researcher close to Qatar were indicted for corruption. One of them is in jail now. Story Killers also told the story of digital influencers in the US who targeted a Gulf-based journalist online. One of them, she was likely paid by a Saudi prince for her tweets. She was under investigation by the FBI. This is the power of collaborative journalism. It brings protection, resources, and impact. We were strong because we were all together. The world is more dangerous than ever for freedom of the press and for journalists. But we are here, all of us. Forbidden Stories is here also. And as a Forbidden Stories editor, I would like to remind you that killing the messenger will not kill the story. Thank you very much.
Just a quick word to say thank you to IJ4EU and IMED for hosting us. I'm an investigative correspondent, and I was thrown into this project on my first day at The Guardian, and it was a baptism by fire, figuring out, analyzing hours of secretly filmed footage by Frederic and colleagues, and then figuring out within a matter of weeks how Team Jorge's army of bots worked. So I'm really grateful for the collaboration, but put simply, without Forbidden Stories and the power of collaborative journalism, this project would not have been possible. For The Guardian and my editors back in London, this was a really important project. On a daily basis, we see how disinformation is weakening democracy. So to unmask a team who create and spread it and get first-hand insight into how it is done is really powerful. And at The Guardian, these revelations feel extremely important. It is a huge honor to have been part of this collaboration, and a big thank you for this award.
Okay, now I would like to invite Gabriella Manuli to announce our second winner.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this awesome organization. So, what happens to those who die in their attempts to reach the European Union? That single question sparked a heartbreaking investigation by a cross-border team of 8 journalists that has confirmed the existence of more than 1,000 unmarked graves of migrants buried in 65 cemeteries over the past decade across 8 countries: Spain, Italy, Greece, Malta, Poland, Lithuania, France, and Croatia. This project is a perfect example of how to do investigative journalism with boots on the ground, while shining a light on individual stories and humanizing victims beyond their current circumstances. What makes it even more exemplary is that it was conducted by a very small cross-border team. And out of the 8 reporters, 6 of them are full-time freelancers, and the other 2 are affiliated with small newsrooms. All this significant reporting was done with very little resources in a period of over 6 months. Migration is a highly reported issue, but in some cases, the human behind the story becomes just another cold statistic. This team went beyond this, capturing stories one by one, conducting 60 interviews in 8 languages, and speaking with families of the missing and deceased whose loved ones left for Europe from Syria, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Iraqi Kurdistan, Algeria, and Sri Lanka. This investigation is also a great example of collaborative work that utilizes virtual reality not as a fancy tool, but as an innovative way to add to the narrative and storytelling. The journalists presented stories of Europe's border graves in 3 collections of 360-degree videos, transporting us to border cemeteries and capturing the voices of those who tend the graves and preserve their memory. There were diverse stories covered, such as people disappearing after pushbacks into dense forests, stretching across 3 countries, unmarked graves along the Greek border, and missing data of the souls lost at the Italian seas, among others. This project made an impact of different levels. It gave visibility to stories otherwise hidden and sparked support for the next of kin in their pursuit of justice. So, what happens to those who die in their attempts to reach the European Union? Who searches for them? Who identifies them? Who buries them? Who remembers them? So I suggest that you go and explore their investigation, the border graves investigation, and congratulations to the full team.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to read this because I'm conscious of time. Hello, and thank you for being here today, and thank you to the IJ4EU for this award. With this cross-border investigation, we managed to reveal a staggering number of unidentified bodies buried in graves across Europe. The number is 1,015. More than half of these are in this country, Greece, one of the main entry points forming Europe's migration landscape in the last decade. It now marks 9 years since I personally witnessed one of the deadliest shipwrecks on Greek territory. I was there when the Coast Guard, various rescue teams, and fishermen were struggling to save people from drowning, from hypothermia, from dying. I remember being handed a months-old unconscious baby upside down to pass on to the medical team working feverishly on the floor of a small harbor on the island of Lesbos. Several weeks later, I was at the cemetery where the victims of that shipwreck were buried. I saw 2 gravestones side by side that each read in Greek, unidentified infant, and a series of numbers underneath. This cemetery was created in 2015 in lack of space to bury the victims of shipwrecks. This is our core border graves investigation team, as we call it, between us. Barbara, Leah, Danai, Gabriele, who are here, and Owen and Tina, who are not physically here, but are watching the live stream. Hi, guys. A heartfelt thank you to all the people and all the families who spoke to us. We are happy our work has made an impact. Thank you to everyone, and please welcome Gabriela.
As journalists, we often speak about impact. It's one of the reasons why I chose this profession, because I believed journalism has the power to make the world more just and fair. But if we want to change the world based on the investigative reporting we do, we must first change how we approach journalism itself. Today, we are being recognized with an Impact Award for our work on the Border Graves investigation. The jury likely found our investigation meaningful and impactful for several reasons. For instance, our work highlighted the systemic failures surrounding migrant death and disappearances, pushing this issue onto the European agenda. One of the cases I covered in Lithuania is now a legal case at the European Court of Human Rights, which is just one example of how our reporting is driving change. I do believe that our reporting has made a difference in people's lives. One woman from Sri Lanka who lost her husband after a pushback in Lithuania told me, "You presented our story in a heart-touching way and made everyone in the Western world cherish our love and understand our struggle, which I would have never dreamt of." So, what does it take to create impactful journalism? I will tell you that we need more human-centered journalism. We need to put people at the heart of our stories. Migrants aren't just statistics, numbers. They are human beings with dreams and struggles, just like all of us. And their stories deserve to be told fairly and with nuance. But too often, this is not the case. We also need more migrant journalists in newsrooms. The underrepresentation of migrants in newsrooms across Europe has led to misinformation covering these very issues. As a journalist from Venezuela who migrated to Europe 3 years ago, I can tell you that migrants bring unique perspectives shaped by our own experiences, and that enriches the way we cover migration. That's not a disadvantage, it is a strength. We also need more and better collaborations with local journalists and ensure they get the recognition they deserve. Trust freelancers and young journalists with bold ideas. Support them, work with them, and compensate them fairly. If we want to create impactful journalism, this is where we start. Doing so will not only deepen the perspectives in our work, but will also resonate more strongly with the audiences we serve. And yes, this is how we make the world a better place. Before I end, I would like to thank the funders that supported this work, Journalism Fund and Investigative Journalism for Europe, the main newsrooms we collaborated with, The Guardian, Süddeutsche Zeitung, Unbiased News, and Solomon. Also to all more than 20 outlets across Europe that publish our reporting, helping us to bring and to reach bigger audiences. Finally, to Tina Su, who coordinated this investigation and brought our cross-border team together. Thank you.
Congratulations to the Border Graves investigation team for this truly impactful story and well-deserved award. And it is time for the final winner of the IJ4EU Impact Award in 2024. For this announcement, I will not go too far. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dennis. So last but not least is a story many of you in this room will know. It's the pilot's shipwreck. So a collaboration between Solomon, Forensis, The Guardian, and ARD. It examined forensically what led to the drowning of more than 600 people. A horrible fact, only made worse that it was all under the supervision of Greek and European authorities. So we thought the reporting here was of an exceptionally high standard. The international collaboration played on each member's strengths, and that the result is a truly shocking story, one that's revelatory and that both moves and angers you. So I'd like to invite the team to the stage to collect the award. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done.
I'm kind of old, so
Oh, you
my
heard it.
glasses, all right?
Okay, that's fine. Well done.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you for this honor, the jury and ECPMF for all this work and this recognition. I think it's really important that this comes at a very poignant time as we're witnessing in Europe and America how migration is again becoming an issue, polarizing and really poisoning our public discourse and societies across Europe. It is also significant that this award takes place in Greece, in Athens, which is the country where close to the shores of which the shipwreck of Pylos took place, claiming so many lives. Me being a Greek, and I suppose everyone else in the audience will agree with me, we've always been a nation and a country that's proud of this philoxenia, right? This has been part of our antiquity, ancient kind of precepts that you extend strangers knocking on your door, every conceivable assistance, no questions asked. Greece is also the proud birthplace of democracy and all that. I'm sure you've all heard of all these things. However, the current migration policies and the rhetoric surrounding migration, unfortunately, are eroding both here and across Europe those very deeply rooted values and obligations that should be fundamental to every society purporting to abide to them. Our investigations into the Pylos shipwreck by Francis Solomon, as the judge previously reported, and The Guardian, is a harrowing illustration. Essentially, if I can just encapsulate what we found, is that had European and Greek authorities adhered to those time-honored principles of philoxenia and the modern dictates of law and humanity, it is very possible that this calamity might never have happened. Our team and researchers and investigative journalists painstakingly reconstructed the shipwreck to scrutinize every single official account, provide a very comprehensive account of what happened that day, that fateful day that led to 600 people living their lives under the watchful eyes, unwatchful eyes of EU and Greek state agencies in the Mediterranean. That's all from me. I would like to turn now to my dear friends and colleagues, Stefanos Levidis and Lydia Manaoulidou, who can take it up from me. Thank you so much.
When we set out on this research, a couple of days after the sinking, the main challenge we were faced with was a profound and deafening absence of evidence, recorded or published from the authority handling the scene, who was also the sole witness to the sinking, beyond the survivors themselves. And I'm talking, of course, about the Greek Coast Guard. The Coast Guard claimed that the various types of cameras and tracking systems on the brand new EU-funded vessel were malfunctioning that night. Survivors, on the other hand, said that their phones, many of them filming the wreck and protected in waterproof cases, were confiscated by the authorities and never returned. So during this lethal encounter between a boat carrying 750 people and another that doubles as a state-of-the-art surveillance machine, nothing was recorded. Our collaborative research tried to fill this massive void created by the Coast Guard's failure to document their actions and the Greek authorities' subsequent failure to investigate them appropriately. How did the Adriana sink, and who was responsible? We tackled this question using a cross-disciplinary approach, each party bringing a different kind of expertise to the team. Together, we collected and examined distress signals, satellite imagery, marine traffic data, photographs and videos taken by different vessels and aircraft that approached the sunken boat during its final hours. We were also able to access parts of the leaked case file that was put together by the prosecutor in Greece, including the bridge logs of the Coast Guard vessel on the scene, which we found were full of important errors and omissions. But most importantly, our team interviewed 26 survivors, several of whom gave in-depth spatial interviews using 3D models in which they reconstructed their journey and the sinking from memory and under the condition of anonymity for fear of repercussions. They all said the same thing in excruciating detail. The Coast Guard tied the rope onto their boat, towed it twice with great force, causing it to capsize. After the sinking, they left the scene, disappearing into the night. 30 minutes at least passed before they returned and started looking for people in the water. This award recognizes impact. But what does impact mean in this context? Yes, our work received awards, which honors us deeply and helps us a great deal to continue doing the work that we do. It was discussed in local and international political fora. It will be submitted to court as evidence, hopefully contributing to important accountability efforts. Yet the Coast Guard in the Aegean Sea still operates in the shadows, violating asylum seekers' rights with their transponders and cameras turned off, while Frontex watches on, as was the case in Pylos.
More than 600 people have died, are believed to have died in the Pylos shipwreck. Their families back in Egypt, Pakistan, and elsewhere are still waiting for answers from the Greek state. Some are still waiting for the remains of their loved ones to be identified and repatriated. They're also waiting for Greek authorities to examine key evidence, including the cell phones retrieved from the wreck, which have yet to be probed. As for the survivors of the Pylos shipwreck, there were 104 of them. At least 20 have had their asylum applications denied in Greece, according to lawyers. And that number includes several survivors who were central to this investigation, who gave us their testimonies and told us their stories at a great risk. If their appeals are denied, they could soon be deported back to their home countries, where their lawyers say they are in imminent danger. This could also mean they'd be unable to testify in ongoing official investigations into the shipwreck. I was talking with one of the survivors a few days ago. He's stuck in the same refugee camp where he was taken in the days after the wreck, and he told me that he's still holding out hope for justice. I'm not sure if that justice will ever come, but I'm comforted knowing that for these survivors and their families, our work documenting evidence of an apparent state crime is a step towards justice. Journalism has its limits, especially in a country like Greece, but I can assure you that my colleagues and I will continue testing those limits to the best of our abilities. Thank you for following and supporting our work, and thank you very much to the jury and the European Center for Press and Media Freedom for honoring us with this award.
Well done. Okay, so we're nearly there. We just wanted to conclude by saying, in the end, we had to pick 3 winners, 3 equal winners and an honorable mention. But I know I speak for the rest of the jury when I say that so many of the entries were of a really outstanding quality. And that, of course, made our job difficult, in that there were many stories worthy of a prize, and a whisker could have come between them. But it also made the job inspiring. It was a reminder, as if we needed one, that there are many journalists out there working sometimes on a shoestring, sometimes at risk, on stories that are important, in the public interest, and have the power to affect change. So that's all from us, I think. And I'd now like to invite Andreas, the interim director of ECPMF, to the stage.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Dennis. And first of all, congratulations to the winners and the honorable mention. I think you deserve this prize. I think it's sent a big signal. I don't know how you feel. I had an amazing day today, and I would like to thank everyone who made this day possible. And first of all, thanks to all the journalists who shared their stories. The inside of the stories, I learned quite a lot. I also would like to thank the students who take the challenge to dive into how I measure impact together with Dennis. It was an example, and we did it the first time, and I think the jury was really happy with the result, and we saw the result today. And I thank the jury, and I think you said it already, it is a hard time to decide who deserves this prize. And I thank everyone who joined this evening, the award ceremony and the whole day. And I think this wouldn't be happened if IMED brought us all together here. And I think thanks for the team at IMED who hosted us the last 2 days with the Uncovered conference and put the Impact Award on the main stage here. Thanks very much for this. And I mentioned Dennis already. She was the director, and she guided us through the last 2 days, but she also prepared this event for the last half year. Thanks, everyone, and I think I would like to create a last important and memorable moment, and therefore I would like to invite all the members of the jury as well as the winners to the stage to have group pictures. And everyone else, I wish you a nice evening here at the IMED International Journalism Forum and a few more exciting days in this venue. Thanks, everyone.
Where do we stand?
You can come to the middle, yes, don't be shy.
I feel like I've been standing up for a year.
Finish to the middle.
Well done. Well done.